let's talk about young people in the country, and let's talk about the state of the nation and whether or not it's somewhere that people can be doing well in. A place where some generations have done very well, others haven't. Georgia is here. Georgia Gilholy, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Conservative Home. I think we can legitimately refer to you as a young person. This study that's been done by YouGov suggests that more young people, or people who have been surveyed by YouGov, think that they might do better in life if they went abroad. I mean, it's a mixed picture, isn't it? It's sort of like 36% say yes, they will do better, about the same 34%, 90% don't know. I mean, is there a general belief amongst young people that moving away is the way to go?
Yeah, so that's a really shocking figure. You know, it's over a third of people are saying that young British people could do better abroad, basically. And I think that, you know, this is just a general sort of sense of despair that we're seeing. And I think it's young people really feel that lots of them are working very hard, and they don't really feel that they're going to get much out of it. Lots of young people, especially if you're, you know, a graduate in London, you're being taxed at about 50%, and do you really feel you're getting much out of it? No, you know, the healthcare system is, you know, in disarray.
Can't get a dentist, probably.
No, councils aren't doing their job. You feel that you're probably never going to be able to own property, that kind of thing. And, you know, last week, before actually this poll came out, there was a piece written by an editor at The Telegraph advising the exact same thing, saying young people need to leave the UK. And this is The Telegraph, which is obviously, you know, a broadsheet newspaper that has been very supportive of the Conservative Party over the years. And I think it just shows how far we've come and how fast we've kind of got to the point where, you know, mainstream newspapers have basically given up. Yeah,
I think there is a sense that things in Britain aren't working very well and not much is any good. I mean, I often refer to a border force that doesn't stop people coming over the border, police who don't want to arrest anybody, NHS doesn't want to see anybody, doctors who don't want to treat anybody. You know, the list goes on and on and on. And yet, there is probably nowhere better, perhaps, which works any better. I mean, I moved to America when I was 23, so I have some sympathy for people who go abroad. I think it's a great idea if you can. I went and lived there for 10 years, and when I moved to America initially, it was very much what Britain wasn't, because I was leaving a Britain behind which was kind of just coming out of a depression in the 70s. You know, Margaret Thatcher just got in, but nothing had really changed, and America seemed to be this amazing land of opportunity. But it's not anymore. If you go to America now, they're in worse shape than we are. You know, and in fact, most countries in Europe are probably struggling in the same way financially. I guess the question is, could you make more money going somewhere else? And would you be able to? We hear an awful lot from the Remainers who say, oh, we can't go live in Europe anymore. Well, you can if you want. You just have to get a job that enables you to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for some people, certain middle-class professionals, they can go to, say, America or, you know, Paris, wherever, and make a decent amount of money. However, if you're choosing to move abroad because you're sort of in despair at rising prices or cultural issues, rising crime, parts of Europe and the West in general have those issues, as you were saying. You know, I was recently in New York and I've also lived in America. If anything, the gap between rich and poor is starker, and the crime is insane. They're facing very similar issues. So if you have a specific skill that you think you can make a lot of money out of and you just think, you know, F it, I'm going to move to New York, I would never, you know, never criticise someone for doing that. They're doing what's best for them. But I think that if you're going there thinking the grass is going to be greener, that's not necessarily the case, unfortunately.
But I think there's always been people, haven't there, who have taken either a gap year or they've decided to go and work somewhere for a while. I mean, when I went to New York to work, I didn't expect to live there for the rest of my life. And I, in the end, as I say, I stayed 10 years, came back. And in the 80s, an awful lot of people crisscrossed the Atlantic because of, you know, they were in a business like you know, finance or journalism or something where that could happen. But I wonder as well whether the young people that we're talking about are those who have come out of university with a degree that maybe they shouldn't have bothered getting because they could have ended up making the same money without it. Because a lot of people coming out of university expect to make a lot of money and then find that they're actually making the same money they would have made if they didn't get the qualification. And I wonder if their expectations are too high.
Unfortunately, I think for many of these young people it is the case, and I think, you know, as someone who was in sixth form not too many years ago, there was just an idea of funneling people into university, whether the course would actually have good graduate outcomes or not. And this is really the fault of successive governments, just sort of trying to brand university as this great experience and that it's going to totally gear you for a totally different life to maybe your parents.
Was it for you?
No, for me, I got good grades and that kind of thing at school, so I naturally thought, okay, the academic route is for me, and I actually wanted to become an academic at one point, which I made the decision to become a journalist, which was a better decision. But looking back, I didn't learn much. I think it was more about everyone has a degree now, right, if you're trying to go into a profession. So it's more just kind of getting that, and I really feel that actually kind of my enthusiasm for learning has gone up since I left university, and I feel so much more productive since I left. Journalists don't really need to go to university. I mean,
well, they never did. But now there are so many jobs, for example, police, nurses, people who really don't need degrees, and I think journalists as well, because journalism sort of changed when they started inviting people to apply for jobs only if they had a degree, because it used to be a trade, it used to be something you learned on the job. You went to a college to learn about shorthand and the law and indentured in a local newspaper, and you were trained to go to the local courthouse to find out what was going on in your community, and if you were good enough, you became a national Fleet Street journalist. I know that's all changed now, but I think there's way too much emphasis on degrees that isn't unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were just saying about people going abroad for finance, another option other than, say, a Western country is places like China, the UAE, Qatar, where Western people feel that they can make a quick buck. Yeah. But when people go there, have family friends who go there, it's to make money. They don't want to stay there. No. They won't integrate, and they won't be able to, because those kind of countries don't even allow foreign people to get a passport. Right. They won't integrate. It's about making money abroad, and they still feel the pull of wanting to come back home to build a life eventually here. I think it's that most people don't necessarily actually want to leave the UK forever. It's just that they feel they have no option, unfortunately.
Do you think there's a lot of crime reasons, like a lot of people thinking that, the streets are not as safe as they were? There's a lot of poverty on the streets. I mean, I think a lot of cities now are becoming quite difficult places to live for people who don't have money.
Not even just cities, I'm from a small town in the Midlands. Yeah. Last week, someone was stabbed to death, and someone's body was found burned out in a car. Right. The streets are lawless, and it's because, of course, we're not vetting people who are coming into the country, and also the justice system is not effective in actually keeping dangerous people in prison, and this is obviously because of government policies over the years. Yeah. And lots of Tory ministers, of course, like to talk about these things on television, on radio, etc. But they've been in government for 13 years, and their record speaks louder than...
I mean, I think the streets are more dangerous now than they've ever been.
Yeah, and, I was actually getting so angry the other day when I was reading about sort of self-defence in the UK. And, of course, in the UK, we're not allowed to carry guns, etc., like in America, and that's just something that's the case. Yeah. However, if you defend yourself with, say, a hairspray or a brush or something on the street against someone who's attacking you,
or some pepper spray,
that legally then becomes an offensive weapon, and you can be prosecuted. Yeah. And I was researching this because the other day when I was coming home from the train station, some random man was trying to say weird things to me and following me, and I just thought, good that I just sort of walked away and nothing happened. But you're really at the mercy of people. Anything could have happened. And these people are not being taken off the streets. No. So I understand as well why sort of the destruction of kind of being able to feel safe on the streets is maybe another reason why people move abroad. Even if it's somewhere like the UAE or Japan, where they might not feel comfortable integrating forever, they still feel, especially as a kind of privileged Westerner in those places, that they feel safer.
You'll feel safer, that is the point. Interesting. Well, hopefully, if people do decide they should go abroad, then go. But, experience it and then come back. And then build a better Brit, that's what I would say, if that's what you want to do. Georgia, thank you very much indeed. Georgia Gilholy from Conservative Home.